Hey, what's up, everybody? Steviebreech coming to you. Today, work. Spent a long time at work. Really thinking about Rock and Cena and how big this match really is. Rewatched that Cena promo from Monday Night Raw, where he's sitting in the empty arena talking about how big WrestleMania was, and just saying this was his time to shine, and basically he had to step up to the plate, and he's just not along for the ride with The Rock. He really feels, proud that The Rock came back to challenge him rather than anybody because he said he was waiting for his next real opponent to come into. He wasn't going to come back for anybody, and he chose Cena. And just was really comparing this to Hogan and Rock in my mind, and trying to draw similarities about what's going on between them. And I didn't even realize until later that this was like the 10-year anniversary rolling around of the big match, icon versus icon, Hogan versus Rock. I guess they're just calling this year's match, a once in a lifetime. They aren't at the point of calling John Cena an icon or a legend or anything like that. Basically, he's just a superstar, is what they call him on the roster. Even though he is like a 10 or 11-time champion now, they don't really put that kind of a label on him. He's not, an icon or a legend or anything like that. They passed around and thrown on other guys. They just sort of treat Cena like he's just he's top dog, but they sort of treat him like he's just everybody else on the roster. They don't really make him more special than he needs to be. I don't know if that's because of what he wants or that's just the way they sort of brand him as the common guy that's just going out there that's fighting the good fight, for the good guys out there, trying to make sure that good prevails over evil. But a lot of people, drew question marks like I did for booking this match, a long time, a year in advance, saying you really didn't have to do that. Hogan and Rock only had 1 month of draw. Basically, when the NWO came in, Hogan, Hall, and Nash, they showed up at No Way Out, the pay-per-view, and then right after that, The Rock came out and he challenged Hogan to the match. And you would think that a match like that, that they're drawing up as icon versus icon, that everybody's talked about as being this real great match that day in Toronto, that everybody says was a sure classic, that they made a big mistake by not putting in the main event slot. It had a whole bunch of question marks. It was Hogan's first match in WWE in a long time since he left. I mean, but he'd been in WCW. He hadn't wrestled, in every day. No, you can't really call it every day with Hogan's contract. He hadn't really been a normal guy on Nitro and pay-per-views since 2000 when he walked out at the Bash at the Beach with the Vince Russo thing. He only had one match since then when he wrestled for Jimmy Hart's Wrestling Federation down there in Florida at the XWF for what it is against Kurt Hennig, which is a pretty good match for a guy that hasn't had a match in a long time. It's not great. It's on the second Hogan DVD if you're wondering what I'm talking about, or you can pick up the DVD set pretty cheap that's out there. It came with a whole lot of question marks. People like me that were out there were, you know, if I can remember out what I was doing, I really was one of those people that was really, really cheering hard for Hogan. He reminded me of my childhood. The Rock was The Rock. The Rock was the fucking man. But I wanted Hogan to go over. Hogan reminded me of all that was good, from my childhood, and I loved it. I didn't care if he was in the NWO. It was just like everybody else. They had to try every dirty trick in the book to remind people that Hogan was the bad guy. You remember when Hogan came out on Raw? Made his first appearance there. He had the long, it seemed like 10, 15 minutes of just cheering, but the crowd wouldn't shut up for Hogan. And I don't think it matters, what arena what you would have put him in. I think that whole tour he made with WBF, or WB, um, everybody wanted to see Hogan back where he belonged. Everybody was glad that he went to WCW and did what he did there, but his home, it was WWF, and that's what they were proud to be. That's where they had to put him in that semi and run over The Rock on I think that was the end of SmackDown right before the go home. Like that was their like, hey, you better fucking boo him because this is all we got. They tried to kill him pretty much. And that's basically what they have to do for John Cena right now. They understand that everybody's cheering The Rock, and they deserve to. The Rock's been gone for 7 years, and they booked this match a year ago, and people are jumping on that Rock train like there's no tomorrow. It seems like with the DVD Blu-ray coming out, more people jump from Team Cena over to Team Rock, and they just remember how good this guy was. I'm cheering for the guy that's been there all along. I've never been, the huge John Cena fan, but I'm cheering for what wrestling is today because it's basically, wrestling's not isn't what it's been since The Rock left. But The Rock left us, back there, and he never decided to come back. And he says that he took the high ground because he didn't want to come back and just pimp his movies or anything like that. But he knows he would have give wrestling a big boost just to show his face on Raw or SmackDown one time a year, even if it was just to pimp his movies. He could have done the little thing to give anybody a rub along the way. He did that interview with Rolling Stone magazine, basically when he was changing his name from The Rock, and he was getting away from that, and he wanted to go by Dwayne Johnson. Um, he's basically, saying that, he was leaving wrestling behind him, that, he didn't really say it was below him, but they were saying that was his past and he was moving on. If that's your past and you're moving on, move on. Don't come back, when you want that little rub from the wrestling guys because you've made a few, girly movies like The Tooth Fairy and you want to be brought back as some huge action star and get it. A lot of people out there, really pointing their finger at The Rock for saying, that he's doing this to revive his wrestling career, and John Cena took that poke at him, to make sure that Fast Five got the buys and that his Twitter account got launched. And I don't think that's all of it, but I just feel like he's coming back for that payday. He honestly doesn't really need the money, but I'm glad they have the match. But at the same point, I'm gonna root for the guy that's been here all along. The last few years of wrestling hasn't been great. But John Cena's been the guy to clock in, punch the clock every day, and make sure he comes in and gets it done. Um, I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about anymore, so I'll take this off. But there are a lot of similarities between this match and that match. You can see with The Rock, basically coming out there and he drew the little crap on his hands. That way, they're trying to, make sure that Cena guys get some credibility in this, that he's able to take down The Rock. Win or lose, if Cena walks into WrestleMania and gets booed out of the arena, everybody knows The Rock's going off to make a movie. I think it's with Susan Sarandon or some crap like that. I can't remember. Some crap that I'm not going to see. Um, but like you said, come that next Monday Night Raw, The Rock's not going to be there, and you really can't have John Cena being, the biggest, baby face in the company, who's getting booed out of the arena still, because people saw him get booed at WrestleMania. I think it's the hot thing to do now. You need to have somebody, carry the flag for your company, and that's who John Cena is going to be. I honestly believe that they have to be passing the torch, just like how you had the '80s in Hulk Hogan, pass it to the Attitude Era with The Rock. I think now, just like how The Rock challenged. Hulk Hogan, and then he had John Cena say it's put up or shut up time. Basically when he came out there on the Monday Night Raw, I thought that basically The Rock was just gonna say that he was testing Cena, and it went a little farther than that, and Cena said basically it's put up or shut up time. You had the PG era challenge the Attitude Era, and say it's time to get this done. I think that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna pass the torch back. All the talk about the trilogy. I don't know. You can't call this match once in a lifetime if you're gonna do it again. They did Hogan and Rock again. I think it was at No Way Out the next year. They waited almost a whole year to do it again, and it was basically just to set up the Vince and Hogan feud. But nobody really remembers that match. I can only really think of it because they have it on the cover of the DVD. I haven't seen it since years back when, because it didn't live up to what it was supposed to, even though it was billed as Hogan and Rock 2. Um, I don't know. I can't wait for this shit. I mean, honestly, it's what I think about every day when I'm clocking out at work. I'm only saying 13 days, 12 days of work left. I already want to throw my luggage. I already want to throw all my clothes in the bag and get this done. WrestleMania, Rock and Cena, gonna be a big one.